and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Now, let's get started with our first story. So, I just want to remind everyone, yesterday we had a fantastic sit-down interview. Daniel Lupker and I were interviewing Fiorella Isabel of the Convo Couch. She's also part of the Mi Casa Casa network. And we were interviewing her about her coverage and what the Convo Couch's coverage is going to be in regards to covering their stories in Nicaragua, Honduras, or eventually what their soon-to-be coverage of Honduras, and also going into other South American and Central American countries. And recently, this was brought to my attention by both E. Heller and Lainey Peterson. Both were team members of Hard Lens Media. E. Heller, a moderator, and Lainey Peterson, a commentator of our show, shared with us on our group chats or some of our meetings of basically Fiorella being suspended, her Twitter account being suspended off of Twitter. So let's pull up this first one from her colleague, Craig Judula, basically saying, "Here we go again with their BS. And please don't give me that it's a private company crap. This is fascism. How convenient for the State Department that Twitter pulls the plug on Fee a day before we are set to arrive in Honduras to cover the election." Again, that's a picture of her account being suspended. Yeah. We could pull up another Twitter account as well. This is the Convo Couch, the show that she is part of. Twitter, is there a reason why you suspended Fiorella Isabel's account? She's received no reason whatsoever. Let's get up another one too, because I want to show all these tweets in together because of something that really also caught my attention too. Frank Analysis, good friend of the show. For what? Oh, I know. What she says is a threat to the oligarchs in big tech and all of the people in the predator class who they negotiate with, the MIC, Big Pharma, etc. This is unbelievably ridiculous. Big Brother cares and watches over us, though, right? Again, showing Fiorella's account being suspended, all her followers, all her posts removed. Can we bring up the fourth tweet, please? Thank you to all who've supported and stood with us. Twitter and Twitter support have yet to give Fiorella an answer on her appeal or even why she's been suspended. She's never been suspended before or even limited for violating any rules. Let's pull up another one. This one's from Ford Fisher, who's also dealt with a lot of censorship on YouTube. Remember Ford Fisher, as well as the Convo Couch and Status Quo. All three of those networks were covering and I know there were numerous others covering the January 6th riots, but yet when corporate media was using their footage, corporate media's accounts were fine, but all of their accounts were hit hard. YouTube journalist commentator Fiorella, who describes herself as a leftist and anti-vaccine mandate of the Convo Couch, has been suspended from Twitter. She tells me she received an email saying she's now ineligible for ads, but no other communication from the company. So there we go. That's what happened to Fiorella. Can we pull up another tweet as well? This is from Nico House. So Twitter support suspended Fiorella without giving her any reason whatsoever. Not even tweet reference for her to delete. She's going to Honduras to cover their elections. Let's not forget social media censors journalists doing that kind of coverage, doing that kind of election coverage. And can we pull up the final tweet? Now, this is something that E. Heller shared with us. This is from Twitter support. Can you see this, or did you get logged out? We're looking into a bug that's causing unexpected logouts on iOS 15. Sorry for the inconvenience, and we'll keep you updated on the fix. So let's talk about this. Kira, your initial thoughts on what happened to Fiorella's accounts, and because I find it just suspicious in my point of view of Twitter just doing this just before they head out to cover the election in Honduras.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I have a lot of suspicions, you know, inside of all of this with what's been going on. First of all, everything is really speculation at this point because there's no smoking gun. You know, there's no like very specific like, oh, it's that person who flagged her for this reason and this is why Twitter is taking it down. So inside of my speculation, you know, number one is, you know, like that first tweet from whomever that was. I don't even remember. Like, don't give me this. This is a private company crap. Which it is a private company, but we're fooling ourselves if we don't think that Twitter isn't corresponding directly with the government.
Right. The thing
right? Like Facebook does. I mean, why wouldn't Twitter?
Yeah, and the thing is when we look at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and YouTube, they are private companies. And look, as a private company, we are renting YouTube or Twitter's time, space, so we can post up our content, your content, whatever we have to do. But I'm worried that again, we're entering the point to where is Twitter now acting like a publisher? Is YouTube acting like a publisher?
Yeah.
And
100%.
And this action is because here's
They're
the thing.
they're the editors of the news, and they get to strike down whatever they want. And it is a really crummy place to be in as a content creator.
Especially when it comes down to covering journalism. Because one thing, we were talking about this before the show, how we do have to tiptoe around certain words.
So we were having, just for everybody to know, we were having a whole conversation about this because I have certain speculations that have to do with the mandates.
Yes.
And so we're like, okay, well, we're just going to have to like step around certain words, certain phrases that have really cut us off at the knees in so many ways in regards to being, you know, on some level, a journalistic source. You know, we've barely at all been able to even talk about pandemic.
Yes,
you know,
and that's the thing, and that's another thing too, because
that's a really rough spot to be in.
Because of course, on social media, Twitter being the sewer, the open sewer that it is, you're going to have your people cheering that this happened to Fiorella.
Right.
But on the one hand, I say, what are you cheering about? Because that's going to happen to your favorite
100%.
content creator. Because we see
and there are people that know this too.
Yes.
You know.
And the thing is, by going forward, is by cheerleading for censorship or cheerleading someone to get deplatformed, you're going to also make it difficult for people you support to do content, or even you yourself to do content as well. And censorship is never the answer. Now, look, I'm for free speech.
Censorship is not the answer.
I'm always for free speech. But when it comes down to free speech, I'm not saying there won't be consequences, but the answer is not censorship, because as soon as you start censoring others, as soon as you start deplatforming people, you create echo chambers and you make it impossible for there to be discourse. And in a democracy, you need to have free speech. And look, Fiorella and the Convo Couch, they've been doing some fantastic work. And I think what really set off a lot of this is because, one, you have people that are maybe upset by how they cover certain stories or different perspectives. But if you don't like someone's content, you know, don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it then. If you don't, if there's certain programs you don't like, don't watch it. Just don't give me an excuse of, well, we got to remove every single person because I don't agree with their perspective. When you do this, you're creating a system of ignorance. Because let's look what happened with Trump when he got removed. And
suspicion.
Yes.
And suspicion. I think that's the other piece that these platforms don't understand. So my speculation is in regards to being against mandates. That is my speculation. And I believe that when you silence people, even if you do it in like what you believe to be the best of intentions, you're really screwing the narrative over because you're not allowing people to hear all of the sides of the story. You're not trusting, you know, people to really, you know, get all of the information, but then you're planting these seeds of suspicion that you like, that's way more powerful than information, in my opinion.
Yes, and the thing is, let's talk about suspicion, because look, we've done collaboration projects with Fiorella and the Convo Couch and Mikasu Casa. I am more than happy to have them here in our studio, interview them, work on future projects with them, because I know that from the work they've done in the past, they've done phenomenal work. From covering the protests from Black Lives Matters to covering election integrity in California, covering the election integrity of the 2020 presidential election cycle, both primary and general. And of course, doing what I feel is very pioneering, covering election integrity in Central and South America. Like, how many independent media networks do you see really covering these stories? And do you see corporate media covering these stories? No. And they're going to give...
Well, I do see them covering the stories, and they're not covering them accurately.
Exactly. And the thing is, when we look at the environment of suspicion, when Trump, I was going to mention this earlier, when Trump was kicked off of social media, you had everyone happy about it. You had everyone cheerleading about it. You had everyone jumping for joy about it. But that didn't remove Trump and his supporters. What you did, what Twitter and all social media and the blue checkmarks did is you confirmed to Trump supporters that the whole system was against them.
Correct.
They had to silence him.
Yeah.
And do you think that's going to stop him? He's going to run again in 2024. What's Twitter's, Facebook, and all these social media platforms that removed him? You're going to have to put him back on if he's a presidential candidate.
That's right.
If Trump is running in 2024, and if they choose not to, then he has a real serious case to go up against big tech and call them out for their hypocrisy. It's like the call for censorship will always backfire.
It will.
Because in democracy, in a republic, you need to have different perspectives, different points of view.
Yes.
And we're going to run into people that are going to have different opinions than us. That's how life is. That's how it was before we're born.
It's
That's how
what makes life actually quite interesting.
It is. And the thing is, with all this suspicion and divide, what very few people, especially the people who are calling for this censorship, realize is that a lot of voters have a lot of things in common. I covered a story a while ago, in fact, earlier this week, Monday, where you have Republican lawmakers and Republican voters embracing cannabis legalization. So, okay,
everybody can unite
around
over
that.
Weed.
And there's probably numerous other issues that Republican and Democratic voters can agree on too. But in this environment that we have on social media and mainstream media, people don't talk to each other. Where there's an assumption of, I know what this person is or what camp they're with.
And that they are the other.
Right.
Like, they are separate from me. They are a right-wing this. They are an anti-vax that. They are a blah, blah that. And it's like, just talk to each other. I mean, there's so much to know. There's just so much to know that to have all of the answers it's just not a possibility. And, who is it? Jack Klugman, basically said something that I said before the show started. It's like, if there's nothing to hide, you have nothing to censor.
Exactly. And the thing is,
so it's a bad look if there's nothing to hide.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that much.
And I want to say this too, because this also, I should have mentioned this earlier. As Fiorella Isabel's account was taken down, she set up a new one. And that new one was taken down like that too. I recently found out that information as well, thanks to some of my fellow colleagues. And I find it disturbing that she had her account taken down, her new one, just like that. And she hadn't had time to even build a real social media platform on that new account that got banned.
Just means someone's watching her.
Yeah.
Someone's like, really, I had a bike stolen once in like less than 30 seconds. And the thing that I walked away from it and then I turned around and realized that I had forgotten to lock it up and ran back. Yeah. And the creepiest part about that was that it's like somebody was watching me do that.
That is just so nuts.
I know. And so I think that's a total obvious circumstance here in this. Agreed
100%. And now going forward, we have this entire system where content creators are at risk of being deplatformed. I fear the day of what would happen to all of independent media, because it's just not just Hard Lens Media and Convo Couch, but there's a lot of independent media networks out there that are right now at the risk of losing everything. And let's even look at some of the larger platforms too. Like they're at the same risk too. Of course, they're a little bit more protected. They might have more funding, but with all this cheerleading for censorship, I do have to say this: Twitter, reinstate Fiorella's account.
Yeah.
If she has done nothing wrong, or this is clearly something malicious that was done by maybe a group of people that wanted to take down her account, reverse this decision and really start hiring people to look into this, because people use social media as a way to communicate, share their opinions. Some of them not great.
Share information.
Yeah, and in a democracy, we need to make sure these social media platforms are not acting like publishers. If they start acting like publishers, then we're in a whole other different kind of environment.
Yeah. And I just, it's very aggravating. A story like this is aggravating to come onto this platform and talk about, because I still feel like this is an extension of censorship. This conversation right here, because we're still not being completely explicit with what we think is going on, what we think could be going on. Yeah. And we can't be that explicit without this video just wholly being taken down.
Right.
And so it's like, you lose either way.
Right. And when I did a coverage on Joe Rogan and CNN, YouTube gave us a suspension where we couldn't upload content for 1 week. And thankfully in one day we got that reversed. But the thing that really made me upset is that I wasn't giving out medical information. I was talking about how CNN was smearing Joe Rogan, and that was it. that was a story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on that note, I wouldn't don't be surprised if this video gets flagged. And we didn't even say anything because I am tiptoeing around stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, and I still think that we may have crossed the line.
Who knows? Scary times ahead.